outreach and special projects for the Institute of International Education. And so going to be your speaker today, going to be covering the Fullbright program, obviously. You guys are hopefully in the right place. If not, then you can stick around. It's going to be a good time. And primarily my role is to do outreach, to come to campuses, speak to you guys about the opportunities with the Fullbright program, as well as do a lot of web-based outreach. And so I'll talk about some of our multimedia ways that you can get more resources and get more knowledge about this grant a little bit later.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Jamie Lawrence. I'm a Public Affairs Officer with the U.S. Department of State in Washington. The State Department, I hope you know, is the sponsor of the Fullbright program. If you didn't know, now you do. We've sponsored the program since 1946 when it started, founded by Senator Fullbright. And I'm not going to take up too much time because Lee is the main event. He's got all the information. But I did want to sort of give you the 30,000-foot view from Washington, talk to you about some of the priorities of the program. And also, very briefly, maybe 2 minutes, a little spiel about a language scholarship opportunity called the Critical Language Scholarship. Anybody who's done one of these? Anybody heard of it? You? Okay. So, this will be new to most of you, but it's a fantastic opportunity to do a summer abroad learning one of 12 or 13 critical need languages. Arabic, Japanese, Persian, Punjabi, Russian, Turkish, Hindi, colleagues up here want to introduce themselves first, though?
Sure. I'm Dan Rabusin. I'm at the libraries. I work with African Studies materials there. But I've sat on the review committee on campus for about 8 years, looking at applications. I've seen a lot of applications. And I've worked with a number of students on improving applications, and so we'll talk a little bit about the support process on campus and some of the things that we look for. And Amy's someone that I've worked with this past year. So,
my name is Amy Swartz. I just found out actually last week that I got over to Mozambique. I'm really excited. I'm an art historian. I'm working on my PhD, and I do work on contemporary artists.
Cool. I'd like to hear from you later on, just kind of sharing about how you went through the application process. I think it'd be good for hear from the winner. So that's what we have here. You have winners. So I'm going to let Jamie go ahead and get going, and I'll follow up from there.
I'm kind of people are going to walk in and walk out, and then you want possibly classes to get. This is the last day of classes. Busy, everybody studying for exams, almost. Anyway, so if you need to get up and leave, fine, but we do hope you'll stay for the whole session because there's a lot of good information. So, where are we with Fullbright? Well, we're living in the golden age of Fullbright at the time of groups all day, but this is the best time ever to apply for Fullbright. We're at our largest funding level ever, about $300 million, mostly from the U.S. Congress through appropriation to the State Department. And then we spread that money out all over the world to over 155 different countries. We have 8,000 opportunities, about 1,600 for the U.S. student program, which is what you all are interested in. We also have a scholar program. We have a teacher exchange program for classroom teachers in secondary and elementary schools in the United States to switch classrooms with somebody overseas. We have a program called the Humphrey Program, which brings mid-career professionals here, and also a Fullbright Hayes program, which some of you may be familiar with. It's a Department of Ed Fullbright program, primarily for doctoral and postdoctoral research. And Lee was actually a member of the Fullbright Hayes, smaller grant, which you can talk to about. But that's sort of the lay of the land of Fullbright, and we've really grown by leaps and bounds in the last 10 years or so. Effectively doubled or tripled in size.
There's a couple seats in the front.
Yeah, come on down.
Thank you.
Feel free to sit on the table. Take this So yeah, we've got doubled and tripled in size in the last 10 years, and that's allowed us to provide a lot more opportunities for U.S. students instead of themselves. We've expanded beyond countries in Western Europe and Anglo-speaking Europe, which tended to dominate in the earlier years of the program. We are also really expanding and ramping up an English teaching assistantship program. Some of you are interested in that program. It's a program to go abroad for about a year to be an English teaching assistant in a classroom. 1/3 of the 1,600 grants that I mentioned are in about 50 different countries, and that program has grown 5 or 6 times in size in the last couple of years. So a real focus of the program now. And that program is primarily focused on graduating undergraduate seniors. Not to say that if you're a graduate student, you can't apply for this program, but if you're interested in research grants and working on your dissertation, this is not the program for you. You want to apply for the traditional research grant. We're committed to diversity within the Fullbright program. This is an important point. We do want to emphasize that we need diversity, not just racial and ethnic diversity, but institutional diversity, geographic diversity, socioeconomic diversity. It's important that the Fullbright program really represent America in all of this diversity. So we're happy to be here in Florida. We're traveling really all around the states. We got 8 or 9 schools in a week.
Yeah, it's been a full-on tour. It's been fun though. It's been great. This is probably the best place that we've been to though.
We don't say that to everybody. But we have been to USF so far, UCF, Valencia Community College. We're going to tomorrow to visit Florida State. So it's a great opportunity for us. They work in the office most of the time to get out and meet potential applicants, to meet people that have been successful applying to the program, and to meet alumni. We're going to meet quite a few alumni tonight at the University President's House, so we're really excited about that. In terms of priorities in the program, I thought I would just touch briefly on some of the things that President Obama and Secretary of State Clinton are interested in. Fullbright is an apolitical program. It's nonpartisan, and that's the way it should be. The government shouldn't have its hands too much within the selection of grantees in the program. But every administration does put its stamp and its mark on certain aspects of Fullbright. And I would be remiss if I didn't tell you what some of the sort of key areas are. So, food security. Anybody interested in the field of food security, or even know what the field of food security is? It's a new one to me in this administration. Interdisciplinary field. Climate change and the environment. Of course, that's going to be used a lot. International women's issues, an issue that's near and dear to the Secretary's heart. Public health, pandemics, things like that. And science and technology. We have a real struggle, I think, to get more U.S. students in the science and technology fields, engineering and STEM fields, to apply for Fullbright grants for many different reasons. So we do really want to make a pitch here for people interested in science and technology fields to think about a grant overseas through Fullbright. I was happy to hear several of you mention engineering. So you were an engineering student yourself, so that's great. I'm glad you're here. You're at a bit of an advantage because we don't have a lot of applicants in that field, so thank you for coming. Particular countries, anybody interested in India? Good, now is the best time ever to apply for a grant to India. We recently had an agreement signed between the U.S. and Indian governments that will double the size of the Fullbright program. Fullbright neighbor grants, they will now be known as. And in this period of time where we're trying to promote these new grants, we're not seeing as many applications, so I don't think that's going to be the case in 5 or 10 years. It'll be much, much more competitive. So now is the time. I'm glad you're here as well. Turkey, Russia, China, and Indonesia were 4 of the other countries that I jotted down before I came here, and the countries that I sort of noted as, we'll say priorities, but I think areas of interest would actually be a better term. Russia and China, for obvious reasons. Turkey, very strategic. And Indonesia, a country that is, of course, close to our president's heart, given his time spent there as a child. We'll be there in June, and we'll probably be talking a lot about international exchanges and perhaps Fullbright as well. And I think basically any time either the president or the secretary made trips abroad, it's made a point to talk about international exchanges and the importance of programs like Fullbright for our public diplomacy and for promoting mutual understanding amongst our country and the rest of the world, which is the whole goal of the program. Sub-Saharan Africa. Anybody? Good. Fantastic. It's actually more hands than we usually see for that region of the world. I always say we're looking for brave souls to go there. It's not the easiest region in the world to do research in, but I think it is one of the most rewarding regions in the world to do research in, and one of the most rewarding personal experiences for a Fullbrighter. most of the people we talked to that have been there have had these fantastic experiences. So I encourage you to think about that region as well. And then Western Hemisphere, Latin America, Central America, Caribbean, fantastic. Again, in our own backyard, but sometimes we tend to forget about some of the countries in that region, and those will be areas of interest or priorities for this administration. Now, I don't want to leave you with the impression that these are the only areas of interest or priority countries in the world. Fullbright is not a zero-sum game. It's not saying that because we're putting resources or a focus on these regions that I mentioned that we're discouraging you from applying to other regions. Western Europe may be of interest to many of you. Western Europe may be the only place where you can do your research project. So don't want to discourage you from applying, but just know that it's fiercely competitive in Western Europe, the Anglo-speaking world, Australia, New Zealand, places like that. So just keep that in mind. Lee, I think, has some flyers in the back, or maybe they're all gone at this point, about application numbers versus number of grants awarded. There are a few. Please do grab those and you can see sort of where you stand in terms of what country you're thinking about applying to. We don't want you to necessarily play the numbers game. Students say, well, this is the best shot that I have in a particular grant. Think about it in other terms. What country is best for your particular project? What country would you provide the most value to, and vice versa? I think that's essentially it. I like to close, I guess, by just distilling a myth about Fullbright. Many people think that Fullbright's not for them, and it's this ivory tower program that you have to have a 4.0 GPA, you have to be your class president, valedictorian. Not true. There's no GPA requirement, contrary to popular belief. We're looking for well-rounded students. We're looking for people who demonstrate leadership ability and community service activities and things like that. Sort of like a college application. Of course, your admissions office looks at your GPA, your test scores. But there's so many other factors that go into a Fullbright application. I don't want anybody to be discouraged by the fact that maybe they had one bad semester or something like that. So keep that in mind. There really is, I think, a Fullbright grant for everybody. It's like the iPhone commercial. Yeah, there's an app for that. Yeah, there's a Fullbright for that. So we're working on one. In the future, we are branching out into all sorts of new social media realms to recruit for the program. Become a fan of us on Facebook. We just launched our Facebook page. We had 6,000 fans join up in 2 weeks, so we're moving along. And it's a great way, I think, to not only learn about the program from our side, from the administrative side, but also we have a lot of former grantees, alumni of the program who can help answer questions in discussion forums and things like that. So use it as a resource. We sort of laugh about it. We're also tweeting. We have a Twitter account, or whatever you call it, but we are using that as a way to help you guys learn about the program. So with that, I think I'll turn it over to Lee, and I'm glad you're here to think about representing your country.
Thanks, Jamie. It really is cool to be able to travel with travel with Jamie and hear from him about what's going on as far as the State Department is concerned, and just sort of his view of the program and be able to talk about priorities, which is good for you guys, obviously, as well. I'm going to skip a couple of these slides here. Jamie did a great job of kind of talking about some of the history of the program. I guess before I even dive into this, a little bit of background about myself. I know there's a couple seats still available for those that are standing. A little background about myself. I've been working with IIE for about a year and a half, coming up on 2 years now. And started off working with the Gilman Scholarship Program, which is for undergraduate students to study abroad. Basically helping with the funding of students studying abroad up to $5,000. It was really that experience and the Fullbright Hayes experience that Jamie alluded to that really got me thinking that maybe I didn't want to necessarily go into physical therapy. I was studying kinesiology at the time, but maybe I wanted to spend more time helping other individuals like yourselves learn about these great scholarship and grant opportunities. And so ended up getting my master's in college student personnel administration, and with more of an international education focus, and then started working with IIE directly. So that's a little bit about me. You guys didn't come to hear my life story, clearly. And I want to have you guys out of here by 9 o'clock, so I better get going. But Fullbright is the flagship educational and cultural exchange program for the U.S. government. The biggest thing on this slide that I want you to pay attention to is the mission of the program, which is really to increase, everybody see this? Everybody see it? Increase mutual understanding between people here in the U.S. and people of other countries around the world. Yes, Fullbright is an academic program, but more than that, we really want you to be a citizen ambassador abroad. We're not interested in sending students abroad or individuals abroad that are just going to be Skyping back home with their friends or on YouTube or Facebook or we want you engaging in the community. This is a great opportunity for you to get to know other people and them to get to know you. And so that's probably the biggest thing on this slide. Been around since the 1940s. Please don't take that as it's a static program. Fullbright is always changing. I'll have a slide in here in a bit that will talk about all the new opportunities that are available. So every year Fullbright is updating, adding, and redefining itself. So it's an extremely dynamic program, and that can kind of, because it's so dynamic, I'm more of a generalist. I'm going to hit some of the highlights. I want to leave a little bit of time so you guys can ask questions, and I can try to fill those for you. But because it's so dynamic, what you need to do